Well, for the last 20 years, we have really been taking pieces of software and bolting them to pieces of tin called servers. And this really takes an awful lot of labor. And the other thing that happens is when that piece of tin then breaks, guess what? Your software stops running. What grid technology does is it allows you to separate the software that actually powers the services people want from the servers that power it, and then allows layered tech to really focus on keeping the servers up and running, making the service highly available, and allows the developers, the subscribers to the service, to focus on building their applications and putting in the new features that their customers want. Grid is a new technology for most people. However, the concept is fairly old. The academic community has had computing grids for over a decade. And if you think about it, that's the original utility computing. If I'm a researcher and I'm building a climate model, I don't have to have my own computers. My university subscribes to a large system and I submit my job. It runs all over the world and I get my results back. However, that technology wasn't available for transactional applications, the type of stuff we all run on the web every day. And so what we've done is we've taken that technology and we've put a wrapper around it and we've made it applicable to the types of applications we all use, right? The PayPals, the eBays, the Digs, the Flickrs. Those types of applications now can run on grid technology, and that's what we're trying to enable with layered tech. It's taken people a little while to wrap their heads around grid. It is a new technology. It's a completely different way of running software. But once people get on the system, they're very excited because it really enables people to take their application and start very small with a small amount of resources, very little money behind it, and know that they can scale and have enormous resources. And one of the things we're doing here at LT Pact is actually showing the largest virtual private data center we've ever built for a customer with over 400 CPUs, all managed as a single entity. And to give you an example of how powerful that is, you could actually run Dig 4 times inside that virtual data center. And so this gives people an enormous amount of horsepower, and yet it's extremely easy to use. I run that grid all by myself constantly, and I'm not even a technician or a system administrator, so I'm just a marketing guy. Well, what it does is it gives you an online presence that you can actually then define architectures for your application. You're using very similar technologies to what you have today. So you want to drag a load balancer in, you want a NAS, you want a firewall. All these technologies that you use today to build out applications in co-location facilities, except now you're doing it online. And then when you press run, AppLogic actually then creates that dynamically for you on the grid. And then your application runs. This allows you to not have to write any new code whatsoever to adopt grid technology. Take your code you're running today in your co-location facility, you can be up and running on the grid in a couple of weeks. This is really aimed at people that are building online services. So the majority of customers today are folks that have an application that is either in beta or is just about to come out of beta and go into production, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to deal with the load, assuming that they get a large customer base. Because it's very difficult. If you take a look at experiences that recent customers have had, we see folks that can literally go from a couple of servers to hundreds of servers overnight the moment they get a tech crunch or they end up on Facebook, and the number of users that can hit the system is astronomical. And yet if their service isn't available, those people disappear just as fast. And so you really have to be able to capture that audience when they're interested in your service. But one of the questions that we've gotten from users is just how far can you stretch a virtual private data center? How much horsepower can I tap for my application? How far can I go? And so working together with Layered and HP, we've been able to put together this demonstration grid with over 400 CPU cores and almost a terabyte of memory. And this is an astounding amount of power. And so what it's really going to do is it's going to help people to understand that there is a huge amount of resource available to them without having to adopt new technologies, without having to go out and hire more people. Literally, they can scale from a few servers to hundreds of servers almost overnight and build their service as their customer base grows. And again, there's no long-term commitment, which is one of the things people really want out of utility computing. Well, the next thing that we're looking at doing is putting together a system that for developers so that they don't have to actually dedicate even 4 servers to get into the service, and allowing them to actually build out beta services on a shared set of resources. And so this will allow more people to get into the utility computing. and allow them to start really small, just a few dollars a month, and that's going to be very exciting. And Laird's working at putting the horsepower behind that application with us. Right now, if you take a look through the trade press, you'll find that there's an enormous amount of articles about huge data centers. You know, Google's building out data centers, Yahoo's building out data centers, Microsoft's building out data centers. And so there's a lot of people that believe that the internet as the bastion of innovation for the small guy is over, that you have to have billions of dollars to put into infrastructure. And this really stifles innovation. And so what excites me about utility computing is it once again gets us back to a point in the industry where two guys in a garage with a great idea can actually change the world. And this is a very exciting thing because it allows me to go and work with an awful lot of great developers that show me things I never would possibly have dreamed of. So I get to learn, and it refreshes the entire industry.